Hello everyone, it's Vicki here today designing for Bramble Fox, and I'm using the January Fox and I'm using some papers and embellishments from the November Hip Kits Club kits. So I've got this freezing season perspective and the two penguins that I want to use, and I've also got this fabulous stencil which I'll link below, and I'm going to use it to do some sewing, and you'll see how that works in just a minute. But first of all, I pulled out this paper, and I love the starburst pattern on it, but I just wanted to have the pink and the blue, and I wanted to take out that green and yellow at the top. So I'm just doing that, and I'm also taking out the white section, and I'm just going to cut each section, but I'm going to leave that star there. You won't see it, but it's just to keep the paper in one piece. Otherwise, sticking them back on separately will just be a lot harder. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut through these, and I want to put a piece of paper in there, and I'm just playing with some stuff at the moment. I don't actually use this paper, but just having a bit of a play. I actually quite like it watching this back, but I felt it competed a little bit with the title and the penguins, so I didn't use it in the end. I also think about putting the reverse side of what was on there back in, but I decided against that too, and I find a paper in here. Now, I didn't pull it out for this stripy side, but I thought, I'll just see what that looks like, and yeah, awful. So there we go. This side is just a white with a very tiny black polka dot, and I wanted the black and white because the penguins are black and white, so I wanted something to look good with them. So this is what I'm going to use the stencil for. I want to make like a starburst, but with sewing. So I'm going to pull out two different colour threads for each thing, and I'm going to spread the starburst over two colours. You'll see what I mean when I get going. It's hard to explain. So I'm just pulling through all my pile. Look at the mess of that. So I'm pulling through the pile of threads that I have, choosing a couple of blue and a couple of pink threads. There we go. Thinking about what other colours might be better, but nope, that's what I've got. So that's what I'm going to do. My plan here is to ink through the stencil onto the page in a very pale grey colour, and then sew over what is on there with ink. So you don't actually see this ink after I've done it, but it's just a guide so that I know where to punch my holes to sew. As you can see, the lines are all, they're not solid lines from centre to the outside. So they sort of looks more like a firework, I guess, in the sky. And that's the effect I'm going for with the sewing. So I do one down there on the blue and one up here on the pink, a slightly smaller one. Stencils can be used for lots of different things. So don't, always look at them as, multi-operational tools, if you like. They can be different things. So in this case, I'm using it as a sewing stencil. So here I'm just going to poke some holes at the end of each of the grey lines, however many dashes there are on each line, and then I'm going to start to sew. So skip through that bit. That's all the holes done. Some of those pink ones are a little bit close to the edge actually, and I had to use some washi on the back to hold them in place, but I'm really pleased with the overall effect. So here we go. Here's my first thread, and you'll be able to see what I'm going to do here, if I can ever thread the needle. I actually picked a needle with a really small eye because I wanted to make sure that it didn't make those holes any bigger, but it doesn't help with the threading when that happens. Anyway, here we go. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to thread from outside to in and then in to out, just because then I don't get mixed up with which hole goes with which line, if you see what I mean. So if I do a line at a time, I can get those and catch all the holes that are there. This is not too bad stitching. This is fairly straightforward, quick stitching. So nothing too complicated, but I think it adds some really lovely texture to the layouts. And I'm going to show you the blue and then we'll skip through the other colours in a moment. I am really pleased with how this came out, just how I imagined it. So yeah, definitely worth having a try with stencils like these that have patterns. There we go, all 4 colours are done. And you can see that's given the page some texture there, but it's still quite subtle. Okay, so now I'm going to, I just got this piece of paper ready. I've taken the manufacturer's strip off of it so that I can stick this on top. And I'm going to distress the edges of this big starburst here, just to add some extra texture to it. Not really crazy distressing, but enough. And just be careful where the stitches are when you're distressing, because it's a bit delicate at the edge. I should have done them a bit further from the edge, but that's my experience to give to you if you try this. But this would look nice anyway. You don't have to split these up. It would look nice to do some sewing on a page with them as a whole, all in one colour. I think it looks really cute. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to stick this down the individual bursts, I guess, so that if I do them like this, do the 4 corners first, well, the 2 corners and then the other 2 corners, it just knows where it's got to stick down. Make sure I get those straight, and then the ones in the middle will definitely work. And then I'm going to ruffle up the edges as well a little bit, just to add to the distressed texture at the edge of each line. Okay, you can see that this is really now coming together with quite a bit of texture to see. And yeah, there's lots of colour here. I really love this paper. It's great paper. Okay, my next thing is my title. I'm just going to figure out where I'm going to put that. And I really like it as a standalone piece with the penguins sitting on it. I think it looks really cute there. Now I want to use some of these acetate numbers because I think they're really cute, but I don't really have a number to put on this layout, so I'm just sort of playing with 12, which is obviously December, but I really like the 2. I like the shape of it, I like the colour of it, and actually I just end up using the 2s, but you'll see as we go what I do with that. Okay. So I'm going to go away from that for a bit, and I'm going to look at some florals. And I've got these die cuts here which coordinate with the paper, so I'm going to have a look at using those. And yeah, this is the great thing about having a kit, I guess. Everything matches, and I can put anything on there, but I'm trying to stick to the pink, the red and the blue embellishments. I don't want to put on the anything that isn't the right colour onto here. There's some navy elements in there, some sort of foresty green. I want to try to avoid those. The cluster at the top has some on, but I do cover that up when I stick that down. Okay, I'm still trying to work with these numbers, and I like those little numbers just poking out of there. And I decide actually to use this stripy too, because of the black and white from the penguins as well, and the black and white paper, just to draw that all together. So I'm liking how this is looking. I'm going to have to start sticking now, because that's what happens when you've put it all together. So I'm just using wet Scotch tacky glue there, and that sticks my perspectives really well. And the good thing about this polka dot paper is the polka dots are in straight lines, so it was really easy to stick that down straight. And the penguins, one of them sitting on the Z and the other is sort of skating next to the N of season. So I'm going to ruffle up the edges of the flowers before I stick them down. This just adds more dimension and texture to your page as well. I always do this with my flowers. Excuse the cat hair that's on my sweater if you saw it then. We have a feral cat that lives at the farm next door, and he really wants to come and live in our house, but I can't let him because my husband is really allergic to cats. So I go outside and cuddle him a lot and give him treats and milk, cat milk obviously. And but he came through the dog flap yesterday, so today. So yeah, my husband wasn't happy. Oh dear. I did say to my husband I may have to kick him out in favour of the cat, but we'll see what happens there. Anyway, sorry. Now I'm putting foam on the back of my photo to pop that off the page, and I put some tape and glue because the tape grabs immediately, but the glue seems to stick it better long term. So that's why I do that, because it's all on top of textured bits and pieces. So I wanted it to stick well. Still ruffling up my embellishments and just sticking down the rest of them. Just going to put a little bit of glue in the corner of those acetate numbers because they can be loose on the page. They don't have to stick fully down. So the last thing I'm going to do is some white splatters, and I just use white acrylic paint for this. Water it down a little bit, and then I flick my paintbrush around. And I made a bit of a mess of my desk, of me, of everything when I did this, but it was good fun. So I had to stand up to do these splatters because I wanted them everywhere. Everywhere. Woohoo! I got a bit of paint on the picture, but just that wipes off really quick. And then I'm going to do some big splatters as well. I just hold the brush and splat the paint down. And that's it. That's the final layout. I hope you find some inspiration from it and a new way to use your stencils. Please do let me know what you think in the comments. I'll link up the stencil as well for you, as promised. But thanks so much for watching. This has been Vicky for Bramble Fox. Bye bye.